All right, we're starting work on the old rusty floor. So, this is the hardest part of this is going to be the hardest part of this project because I want to do this right. I'm not like some of you guys that like to put license plates in there and rivet stuff. That's the way this was done. It was riveted. I don't know. He might have kind of spot welded it maybe. Some areas, or screwed it or self-tapered it or whatever, and then just seam sealed over it and then painted. This paint sucks. The seam sealer sucks. So the only way to do it right is to weld it. So that's what I'm going to do. And of course it's going to be a pain because there's not going to be much to weld to in some areas. Some I got to fix all these little holes here as well. But then we're going to be investigating also where this is coming from. I don't know how far up that goes. Yeah, I don't know where that goes. I know the passenger side was leaking, and I'm starting to wonder if this hole here has anything to do with it. Of course, I might have taken that out myself. I don't know. I don't remember taking that out though. I just remember kind of lifting that pad up. Mice kind of got in there a little bit. Another thing that I hate, that I'm gonna hate to do, is get in there. So we've had a mouse. Problem is the last guy that owned it was a farmer, so he must have had some feed bags back here, and it leaked out into. And of course he didn't have a rug in it, so it leaked out into these holes here. And mouse obviously got in. So I don't know if I can just vacuum it all out. See, I like to be thorough especially because this isn't going to be looked at for years, right? I'd be willing to like cut the top open and just get it all out, and then even spray some undercoating in there just to make sure everything is hunky dory. I love this color of interior. Honestly, I mean, a lot of people like the red, like the maroon, and I love that as well. I had to say, probably my favorite color. But you know what? This blue, this dark blue, that's a good 80s blue, you know? Like, it's nice, honestly. Well, I wonder, I just had to pull this little boot out of that great big gaping hole that's got a whole bunch of rust around it. Gee, I wonder if that has anything to do with all of the rust that's been floating down here. And the fact that maybe the floor pans are rusted out. Well, I mean, they were rusted out, and then they fell out. But, yeah, see, here's the thing. The perfectionist in me wants to get up all the way up in there, get this foam backing stuff off, and get all this rust cleaned up. And that's a lot of work. But I am a perfectionist, so I don't know. We're gonna look at doing that, because I mean, I know like this stuff, like these brackets and whatnot all get rusty in these things just because of condensation. They were never coated or anything. I'm not too worried about those. I don't need to pull the whole dash apart to get back in there and fix that. But if I could just get some of this rust cleaned up, and you know, maybe a little grease put on the back of it or something, just to keep it from rusting through. Oh boy, look at just the junk, huh? Yeah, that's what I want to do anyway. I don't want to have another one of these situations with the firewall. I mean, this isn't the worst situation I've ever seen either, don't get me wrong. But I've done quite a bit of cleanup on this now. Get all this ready for welding. I was thinking, I have this, I just bought this little plasma cutter here. And I was thinking about maybe making the hole more square. These cheap little Amazon plasma cutters, man, I'm never impressed by them. You know, arc flashing me, and then just not cutting right. So, but I'll probably end up cutting the metal out with that. Alright, so while I'm in here, I decided to go ahead, wire wheel all the rust. You can see the kind of spotty rust there. Might have to wire wheel a little bit more just on that edge. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother though. A little bit there in the cab corner. Cab corners are solid. Just surface rust. Really, most of this rust, because this was an Alberta Jeep, most of this is just caused by stone chips that fly up from the highway because they don't use as much salt over there. Instead, they put more like gravel and sand on the road, so there's a lot more rocks flying up and hitting things, and then they leave these little paint chips here, and they just kind of, I mean, there's not enough salt to make it go anywhere, and it's a fairly dry climate out there as well, so they don't go far. But if I'm driving it around here, even in the summertime with all the wetness we got, it's just going to seep in and start rusting, right? So this was a particularly bad area. There was a little bit of scale going on here in the corner, so I what do you do it? This. I apologize, I should be doing half of this on camera, but I just took this Ingersoll Rand with the Ingersoll Rand needle scaler. I tried the cheaper ones. They just don't work as good as this. This, man, this is the tool, okay? Ingersoll Rand at minimum, okay? They're not the best out there, but at minimum, get this or get better, like a Snap-on or a Mac or something like that. That's how you know, like this thing is going to take so much rust off that you didn't even realize was there. Like, there's a lot of stuff in these corners and in these, like, areas that you're trying to remove rust with a wire wheel, and you don't even realize how much of it is actually scale. And I'll show you points in here. You can take a nasty old chisel, right, and just start scraping into it. And you'll be pulling off chips, and then there'll be rust underneath those metal chips. And you'll realize right quick that a lot of the rust removal that you've just spent 12 hours doing has actually just been surface, and you gotta get there, and you gotta dig in order to actually get to the bare metal to then coat it. So this, I'm coating it with a weld-through primer. I don't know where the label went, but it's like a galvanic, it's basically a galvanizing spray, and then I'll be doing that on the inside as well. I find it works pretty good, so I'll not do anything more other than just, and then I've got a rust paint, a white rust paint. I've kind of decided after looking over this thing, you know, it's really, there is nothing pretty about this Jeep. Like, there's just wires scabbed in. Like, this thing was pulled out, and so water obviously was probably getting behind in there, and this firewall's rusty here, and it just like I don't even know what's going on with this plug here, what it's doing, where it's going. There's a new radiator on this, looks like a new radiator support even, and just missing screws, missing studs, cracked everything. Bet the only thing good on it is the bed, honestly. And even then, like, there's so much, see, that's all dinkled in there, and somebody backed into something there, and this tailgate is nothing's unusable, but it's just beat, and nobody cared. Like, this was obviously just some farmer's farm truck, right? And they did not care about putting things together properly, and just, I don't know, not fucking things up, you know? Like, that's just what farmers do. They just get it working, then they just keep driving it. Like, another thing, like some of this, like, look, what's this doing here? Like, whose is that mess? As I realize I now just pressed into the fresh primer I just laid down. And then there's this hole here. I don't know if it's that one or one of these ones that just go right through the back and it's just a self tapper screw right through the back to lay the this backing plate, this backing fiberboard on the interior trim. And it's just like, and then look at this. Here's another thing. What's going on there? Who did that? This is what I really want to know. Like, let me put it to you this way. I'd like to have a beer with whoever worked on this thing last. Because I bet you he knows how to party. Because there's just whiskey involved in all of these body panels. Like, I don't know, like, I obviously got too much stuff on here. And of course, because of the old tarp shed blowing off, this stuff got soaked. So, that's no good. I'm going to throw it back in anyway. We'll see how she does. But, I don't want to drive this thing in the winter, really. And I'm not gonna, for the most part, but I might have to do it like once or twice. And if I can just kind of spray it off, I won't be too worried then. Because this Jeep is not as good as my other one. Let's just put it to you that way. I think this is the nicest part of the Jeep here. Oh no, never mind. It's cracked. Yeah. Was the nicest part of the Jeep till I looked at it. And yeah, like I don't even. Yeah, see, look at. There's just nothing straight. Nothing straight about this. So I don't even know, like, in the future what I would want to do with this. And listen to how this door, like, and yeah. Can you tell the other side? The other side doesn't have the stripes. Yeah. So look at it. Listen to this door. How it opens, right? Okay, that's actually sounded pretty good, but so can you see the door's pretty low? And it raises back up. And it's like sticky too. I don't know if this is factory, all these washers underneath this either, but I can tell you there's something up with this door as well. And then they took out the detent arm. You know, this. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop looking for problems. And then, oh my, here's the worst part. Stop taking your radios out and just leaving them out, and then just scabbing wires back together and cutting them off again. Like, what is even this thing? Like, come on, dude. Oh, it's all wet too. Like, just leave it in and use one of those FM transmitter things. You just buy them on Amazon. They're like $15. And then you can get, you set it to a radio station, your antenna picks it up and it plays it on your radio. And you got a nice classic radio, that says Jeep on it, for crying out loud. Anyway. Alright, so we got the old CAD software out. So we're gonna take the old Marky-Do. It's not gonna be perfect, but we're gonna oversize it anyway when we do cut it out of the metal. We're gonna give it the old rough treatment here. Yeah, I'm gonna let it go all the way to the inside, and so it overlaps this, because there's not much left of this. Not much left of this marker either. By the way, it's -10 in commie measurements, or French measurements, because I believe the Celsius system is French. And it's pretty warm in here, despite there being huge gaps in the front and back here, and absolutely no insulation whatsoever. But of course, there's a lot of condensation. But that thing's doing pretty well. But it is using a lot of diesel, so it's not very efficient. But now, yep. Should have enough metal. There's my beats. Yeah, I'm gonna have to clean this metal up though. But that won't be a huge issue. I might try cutting it out with the old, the new plasma cutter over there. Alright. Cheap little Amazon plasma cutter. I mean, it's not great, but it's doing something. It's easier than using a grinding wheel, probably. Oh, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna have to move that thing a little bit, but got her cleaned up with the grinder. Looking pretty good. If that's that little corner piece missing there, if that becomes an issue, I'll just weld in that other little square that I cut off of this side. So I cut that out. Still a little bit more fitment to do. Gonna cut that there, probably just at a nice, maybe 30-degree angle or 45. Then cut that open a little bit more here, and then it should fit down nice and tight. Pro tip, well, this isn't a pro tip because I'm not a pro, and I don't know if this is going to work. But here's what I'm doing. When I bent this down, I just bent it down with the hammer just to kind of get the first general crease. And then I just took it out and then bent it down. And that way it's actually accentuated. So when you go to weld it, you have to press it down and then you can weld. And then I think what that's going to do is it's going to cause this floor pan to always kind of bow downward. So if anything hits it on the bottom, it's going to be a little bit easier and you won't have less leg room, you know. Something like that is what I'm thinking. So give it stress, you know, stress equals strength kind of thing. Now I'm gonna get this part here, pull that down, try and angle it upwards a little bit. I'm gonna have to grind down more of that seam sealer. Boy, they were pretty liberal with that at the factory. Alright, so I kind of accentuated that bend a little bit too far in from where I really needed it. So here's where the bend was. I flattened it out on this old homemade workbench. So I need it about here, like an inch forward or so. And that way it'll lay down better over the frame. So what I'm going to do is just take it and pound it over the edge of this. Boy, I tell you, the condensation in here really is something else. It's dripped all over everything in here. Pretty crazy. Try to kind of put a towel on a broom and wipe some of that down, but anyway, so got the floor pan relatively straight in there, and I think that's about where I'm going to need it. I could have left some on there, now I see that, from probably here to here. And then I'm going to obviously have to patch that as well. But this will give me the basic shape that once I start welding it from the middle out, I can start pounding it down. But before I do that, I need to grab this little nut here, because the original cross member, I believe it only used 2 bolts as opposed to the Iron Rock 3-link kit using 3. So this third one here, oh, you can see, oh gee, it almost looks like somebody tried to weld that too, right here. So I don't know, this, I think this was the bolt that fell out. I don't know, I don't really see much evidence of welding. I might have to take a closer look at that, but either way, we're going to weld it back in. So, I don't know what they did on the other side either. I remember something being a little bit weird with that when I took it off. Man, look at the condensation even in here. This is a little concerning. I guess that's why people have proper garages and stuff, eh? Well, I'm a Canadian, so I'm too poor for that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of questioning whether or not I should throw some paint in here or maybe some undercoating as well. But I don't want to, because I'm going to be stitching these sides together on the floor. Alright, we got the old weld pack, or weld mark, or whatever the heck it is. And got our headlight set up here because, of course, I have to disconnect the extension cord from the lights in order to run the welder. Because that's how we do it around here. So, I'm going to weld this nut in. And I noticed the nut is loose on the other side as well. So, it's kind of like a mixture between imperial, metric, imperial, and imperial small size for some reason. So, ham fist strikes again. Alright, we gave her the old with the spray can. So, just kind of went around that edge. This is a weld-through primer, supposedly. So, I'm going to have to fix that little hole there before we begin again. But, I'm going to let this dry down a little bit, flash off, as it were. And then, once we fix that, we're going to get this pan in. She's all blasted, patched, and I did underside of the door in rust paint white. So, gonna let that cool down here, flash off, because I did. Here, let me just bring it over here. That'd be much easier. Maybe the paint fumes are getting to me. I can't think straight. Oh man, I always wear a mask. Actually, yeah, that's another thing I wanted to say was, but yeah, it like. Just said doing here, just did there, so want to let that dry a bit here. Wearing a mask, guys. I know it's funny to breathe in brake cleaner and paint fumes and make jokes about getting high. That stuff is seriously bad for you. The carb cleaner, brake cleaner, even fluid film. Any kind of aerosol spray cans, but specifically brake cleaner, man. That stuff contains what's called benzene. And benzene, you know, all you guys are worried about your health, like, oh, I don't want to eat GMO food, oh, I don't want to eat all these chemicals and Red 40 and what all that sort of stuff. But then you sit here and you breathe in benzene, which literally changes your DNA. Like, it damages your DNA, that stuff. So get a grip, all right? Alright, just do some hammering till stuff fits pretty much. Get her as straight as you possibly can. Cut out this little piece because I've seen there's some cracks here. So that should fit somewhat nicely in there. I'm going to have to do a little bit of filling. I don't really care, it's fine. But yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll start with this side, get this tack down here, flat as I possibly can, bottoms out right there. Because here's the deal. This frame rail that runs underneath of this does actually curve up right about here, I might have mentioned. So just make sure when you do this, because inevitably somebody who's going to have to be watching, going to have to be doing their own Comanche floor pans is going to have to do this as well. And it might be similar on the Cherokee. I know this floor is actually different for the Comanche for sure. But yeah, just make sure that it's flat to the frame rail. I'm not gonna bother, because this is, I don't think I mentioned, this is 16 gauge steel. So this is significantly thicker than the stock steel. So this is probably just a little bit thicker than this steel. So I think, honestly, I won't need to re-extend this section here, which basically just acts as kind of an extra support for the frame. Oh, well, that diesel smoke's getting to me. But you see how that goes forward there, all the way to basically that matting there. I don't think that's necessary with the heavier gauge steel. So we got most of this kind of boogered up here. Not the best welding I've done, but it's rusty, and there's this weld through primer is not, I knew this going in, okay? It's not the best. It's gonna spatter, and it would have been better if I just cut this out, because this was getting pretty thin here, and then just put a new piece in there, but I got lazy. So we got the old jack under the clutch pedal, not putting a whole lot of pressure on it, just enough so that we can get this section here welded down. And then once we get that welded down, we'll get that corner there that's lifted up quite a bit. We'll get that hammered down, and she'll be right. So as you can see by the burn marks, one, two, three, four. Hammered that down, welded it on the underside lip, and then welded this over lip down, all around, all in the back, all underneath. Working on getting up here. So what I've been doing, air hammer with a blunt tip, aka a broken tip, a much pointier end. Just kind of working that down, you know. I didn't anticipate how hard it would be to get this down over the trans tunnel there. Trans tunnel, huh? Anyway, yeah, that's pretty, it's pretty solid there. But I'll get her down. Bending her one way or the other, doesn't matter. 16 gauge, you know, I'm not too worried. But we'll get her down. What I've been doing on the other side, I don't know how much you can see there. There, yeah. So I've been pulling that back over and open to the inside weld. So what I'm gonna do after is get that overhang cut off, that rusty stuff. I'll just cut it right off, and then that way this will all be won't have like a pocket in there that moisture could possibly get into and rust out. At least as much of one anyway. Looking pretty good, actually. I'm happy with it. And it's a lot thicker. So this is the third day of working on the floor pans. So it's not too bad. I don't do a whole lot of work. I just kind of putt around, mosey along. But, well, I shouldn't say that. I work pretty hard, but I do a lot of... I take my time and I make sure I'm doing it the way I want it done, you know? And, I mean, like you always hear, your projects don't get done if you don't work on them. So here I am working on them. And you better too. You know, get off the couch, stop watching my video, and go out and work on your car. Okay? Well, actually, watch my video while you're working on your car. That's even better. But, yeah, I'm just recovering from some salmonella poisoning. It's that time of year, you know. The eggnog comes out, and where there's eggnog, there's raw eggs. So, it was not fun last night, I tell you what. Alrighty. So, ended up having to, I didn't have to apparently, but I think it did still make it a bit easier. I cut this down the middle here just to try and open it up so that I could stretch it down, as well as a little relief cut here. When they laid down, it seemed like they were an even length, so I don't think I really needed to do that, but I think it did still make the job easier. I'm a little bit worried about how far this corner down is down. Sorry, the fumes are getting to me. Look at yeah. Whew. So I don't know if I'm able to pop this back up from the underside, or if it just kind of is like that. I forget how they are. But, we'll see. We'll make it fit. So I got this last patch piece in here. I've got it to where, I guess it moved a little bit, but I want it about right there. So then I'm going to weld it here and then around and try and hammer her down and get her fitting nice. Once that's done, I might try welding this seam here. I don't like seam sealer, I like welding. I don't know why, but I mean, I needed to take the seam sealer off anyway because welding so close to it, it just pull right into the weld and spatter like crazy. But got a little hole there. Yeah, once that's done here, then I'm gonna go underside and do what I can to pull off any of the rusty metal that's overlapped, and then weld it most of the way from the back side. Do what I can anyway. I don't like just one side welding and then leaving the bottom all sharp and stuff like that. So we're gonna see what we can do on the bottom side. Yeah, filling in all those little stupid rivet holes as well. I friggin' yesterday when I was working on this, I was coming up from the underside and I wanted to open the door, but I was sitting on the floor. I friggin' dislocated my thumb on this button here. Like, this thumb, like, man, it still hurts today. Friggin' things bit me already. Alright. So the inside is done. Where did all this dirt come from? So, this is all patched up now. I'm gonna go along the backside. I might, yeah, like I say, I might weld that, I suppose, but this seam sealer, I'm gonna have to do something with it because this is actually a seam here that needs to be sealed. However, now that, because they riveted through that, and I had to patch that so there wouldn't be a hole, I'm gonna need to actually do something with seaming that seal. So we'll figure that out, because I'm gonna put the butyl mat down, the sound mat, and now that butyl is a sealer, right? And if I can get it high enough, it might actually seal, but I would wonder about that. I don't think that's a long-term solution. So I might actually get some more seam sealer. I'm not sure. I think I have some still in a tube. So we'll probably try that and then call it good. Just for this little area here, because the rest of it seems to be okay. I didn't, when I was grinding this down, unless it was over here where there was rust, I didn't actually go over the lip of the seam. It's not the prettiest. I probably could have saved from doing that, but nonetheless, it is all done now, and I think it's going to work. Welded all the way around, top and for almost bottom. You know, getting around to that. So we're down here, and I'm not sure if I'll bother. I think I'll just weld that metal. I don't know, we'll see. But I wanted to take a look at the angle of this dangle here in comparison with this side. You see, this side has much more leg room, Now, granted, this is the side with the transfer case, but the transfer case shouldn't go any farther than here because this is the shift linkage. So I don't know what to do. I kind of want more leg room because it's hard to press the gas pedal on this side between the brake and the firewall. So I don't know. I'm considering cutting this out here, pushing this down, pushing that down, and getting like another 90 piece in there. But I don't know. I want to leave enough room for the drive shaft and the yoke and all that stuff. So maybe I'll take a look at it on my Cherokee real quick. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do while I'm down here is I've got this chisel bit. I just sharpened it with a sanding wheel and a grinder on my old air hammer, and we're gonna get in there and cut that rusty crud off. Not too bad. It's completely deafening, but yeah, well, not the end of the world. At least it didn't hit the ECU, or ECM, or whatever you call this thing. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over this thing. Gross. Kinda burned my hand a little bit. Patting it out, got a nice lung full of plastic. So I'm just gonna fold this up, and then I'll just there. I'll cut the rest of that off. So this is honestly kind of how I've been doing half of the work here. In smoke and darkness. And yeah, let me turn the phone light. Yeah, here. Yeah, this is how I've been doing it. Easy work, right? All right. So, I've got this. I have got this as welded as I possibly want to weld it. There's a little bit here. I'm just going to leave it. It's already rusty anyway. After fire number 2, I took some of that more of that crap out. Gonna have to get that cleaned up a little bit. Yeah. So all this is cleaned up as well. So she's all welded. All welded up. I even welded the former floor pan to the rocker panel just to seal that up. So just stitch welding it, little psst, psst. Welded it all the way up here, all the way around. Yeah. Yeah, I went way overboard, I get it. And they're not great looking welds, and don't look, This is about getting it sealed and making it strong. Fairly strong, anyway. You know, some of these welds may give out, but I know some of them got some good. You know, it's a heck of a lot better than the 16 spot welds that they gave it from the factory. So I'm really not too worried about it. But you know what? I'm happy that started a fire anyway, and so that I could cut it out, because my foot now has more room for the pedal, as opposed to last time my foot was catching on this thing, and it didn't have enough room between the brake pedal and the firewall. I would literally I remember when I drove this, because I bought this Jeep in Alberta. I remember when I was driving it from Alberta, I literally had to get my foot behind the brake pedal like this in order to use it. Otherwise, I'd be hitting the brake at the same time. Like, yeah. Like so. Oh, well, that was a job. And I'm not going to tell you it was easy, okay? This is not easy work, however, it's not that hard. It's not geometry, it's not math, it's not science. It's nothing like that. Just a little bit of not even skill with welding. Like, I've produced much better welds than this, guys. I get it. This is not, you know, don't worry about this. This is not for looking at these welds. It's going to be under your vehicle and covered in a mat. But this is about getting back the strength and sealing against moisture. So I think I've succeeded in that task. And yeah, I'm gonna get out of this smoke now. Whew. Smoky. You can see how hazy it is in here. Alright. So I didn't know if I wanted to use it or not. And I only got about this much left. But this, where I ground off the old sealer, gonna go over that, maybe go over this little corner here, but it's looking pretty good now. I'd say that's one patched floor. I probably even could just put the rug in right now, but I'm gonna put this in and then let it harden up, and then we're putting the interior back together. I think I'm gonna clean this up a little bit more. Actually, come to think of it, I should do that while this is setting. Because there's just a little bit of rust poking through here and there, some dirt, grime, and as well as in here. Yeah, I might even throw that tube camera down there, see what's going on, even in the rockers, because you can see right through into the rockers there. Actually, that's a good idea. I figured out I can record on that camera. You might have seen it in the last video. I can record and actually show you guys exactly what's going on the screen with, I think, yeah, it's this camera right here. Alright, so I just took you through a look of what's behind here and inside the rocker panels. Cleaned up in here a little bit, got all the excess junk stuffed in the glove box. So we definitely need to clean out these corners here. The cab corners, I'm not sure, maybe I'll just kind of blow them. And then spray some stuff in there, like some fluid film or something like that. I'm not too worried about them. So what I don't know exactly what I want to do yet. If I had like a brush or something that I could just kind of fit in there, but I don't. I mean, like. There's metal brushes on a stick you can get and stuff like that, but that's more for cleaning bores. This is like a rectangular tube, right? That really tightens up at the end. So I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I think what I'm going to end up doing is cutting this open from here to here, all the way back, and then maybe cutting it up that way, spreading it open, and then the same on the other side. Then I get into removing the seam sealer again. I'm tired of removing seam sealer. It doesn't just blow out. That's the thing. It's kind of wet in there, right? So, and I don't want to heat it up with the torch because, I mean, there's probably hand virus in that, and God only knows what would happen if I was breathing that in. It's bad enough breathing in plastic. Can you hear that? Yeah. Got this all buttoned up here. I realize now I'm gonna have to figure out what's even going on with all this. Like, what's that doing on there, you know? And then there's this thing. There's this. I think this is either for a seatbelt safety switch, or could it be for like a like a transfer case backlight? Something like that. Seems to fit here, right? I don't think there's anything like that on the driver's side, no. And then I gotta figure out what this does, where it goes, and then I'm gonna have to friggin' look at that. Man, I must have worked on this before. Oh yeah, have to fix that. There's also for the 3-link kit, there's a nut in there that's loose inside the frame rail. Here, I'll show you. Yeah, see that one right there? That's just loose in there, and it should be over here. Alright, got these ripped up. So as you can see, there's some seam sealer down there, but maybe a little dust or whatever. I don't really care about that, but yeah. So gonna get those planted back down. I kind of sprayed down some areas here. There's the other side there. I took the seam sealer out of there because on this side there's more rust to fix. I mean, this side is just getting more moisture overall, being the driver's side. Ooh, windy. Yeah, so I guess I gotta fix that now too. Shouldn't be a big deal, but now I gotta rip out the welder again. And messed up. Accidentally kind of rubbed some wires here. So I'm gonna have to split all that apart. And I don't know, I'm sure there's wire rub on this thing here and this thing here. God only knows. Yeah, once that's welded, I'm gonna seam seal it some more. I'm gonna put a piece of tape over this, and then same on the other side. So I sprayed the cold galvanizing primer, at least what I thought was the cold galvanizing primer, over this area, and then I ran out, so I got another can of it. And see, this stuff looks a bit more silver. So I wonder if I was actually just spraying primer in the last one. Oh well. I know, I think I did get 2 different brands of cold galvanizing spray, so we'll see how they turn out anyway. Doesn't matter. I didn't bother to weld these back up too much. Just kind of hold them together, stitch it up. I'm sure that's a bit structural, but I'm sure it's not that structural. So I'm not going to be doing any serious off-roading or nothing anyway, so I'm sure that's fine. Then what I'll do, once all this is tacked up, I'll spray some lanolin down there, probably halfway through the whole thing. Still got to get some seam sealer on those. And yeah, looking good. Ah, nice soothing rain. As long as it's not coming in, that's just condensation. But yeah. Back to work. So this is drying. Kind of gave it half an hour or so because I read the label on that Dominion Sure Seal stuff. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have read the label. Then I would have been fine. But once I read it, then I started feeling like, oh yeah, maybe this, maybe I should get out of here. You know how it is. Only causes cancer in California. So, this hole. Now, we have somewhere, I don't know where it is. This is the new one. The cab vent. So, the old one, the top thing is broke, so it's like fluttering off. But this, see that thing there? That thing was broke as well. Man, I tell you, literally everything on this truck, there's just whiskey involved. So this one is good. I got this from old Cody Kilmer off of Facebook. He's a good dude. Then we're just going to plop that in like that. And we're not going to remove any of this old crud. We're just going to put this right into place. Just like so. Yeah, we're not even going to worry about like the overspray or whatever's going on here either. Like, it's not the perfect seal, but probably better than it was. There. Now that looks like a Comanche. We can still fix the old one anyway. I ended up missing a spot. I missed putting the sealer behind there. So I'm wondering maybe, I already put the fluid film down there and in the rockers and cab corner. I'm wondering if I should bother. Maybe I'll just when I go to undercoat it or something, because it's kind of tucked up behind this big, I don't know if you can, it's inside of here anyway, just behind here. So I'm not too worried about it leaking, but I suppose it still could, seeing as how that corner rusted out, right? Well, I can always cut that bracket off and weld it from behind, right? Oh well. I'm gonna do some cleanup on the grudge. Gonna get this tape down as well. I taped down this side with that Nashua tape. I've heard people say that you can't really tape this stuff down very effectively or whatever. I think it'll be fine. I'm just gonna rather than just peel all that off and try and get another piece of plastic or something, I'm just gonna tape up the little holes in it. Is what it is. Gonna deal with it, gonna live with it. Totally forgot about this hole here as well. Ooh, you can see a little bit of rust. Some kind of brown back there. Yeah, that's not good either. So, we're going to get to that as well. My goodness. Was I in here before? I'm using the green tape, right? So, that way I know what's good. Green for good. So, you know how they say trust but verify? Well, I don't trust. So we're verifying. Man, self-tappers. It's time. It's time. That's right, Amazon Basics makes sound mat. Doesn't seem to be as thick as this stuff. Whatever, this is the old crap. So, main reason for using this, it's a butyl And basically, it might as well be like extra moisture proofing. So, also it's a bit of soundproofing, which is nice. I'll probably put some on the back here. Just one patch. If you're doing it for soundproofing, don't bother putting it all over. Just put it like one or two, and then maybe one over the trans tunnel, one or two on the back. I think I'll just do two on the back, and then not worry about it. So, but other than that, I'm doing it for more water. So, yeah, I'm just gonna probably I'm gonna use up as much as I can, and then probably not worry about the rest. Well, I didn't have enough to do the whole floor, but I had enough to do way more than I needed. So I was thinking about it as I was doing it. I'm like, you know what? This stuff doesn't really like to lay down, especially this Amazon Basic stuff. It doesn't really like to lay down, as well as the Noiko. But nonetheless, it's down. And I was thinking, frig, if I was trying to actually do this for rust, like the moisture would just get right behind this stuff and just stay there and rust it out. So this probably is going to be a hindrance to me in the future, nonetheless. And I'm probably going to have to like replace this whole floor pan, or at least wherever I put these mats. They really don't like to lay down all the way, but it's not a lot less tinny. I kind of wish I had a little patch for that. I suppose I could use this last little piece here. That'll probably just get stuck to the headliner in a good heat storm, and then it's going to be melded to the headliner and completely ruin the headliner. So that's great. We're going to go with that.